Many might not know this, but the Florida Keys don't stop at Key West. The island chain extends another 70 miles into the Gulf of Mexico. Dry Tortugas National Park is one of America's most remote and least visited national parks, and Fort Jefferson served to protect one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. There are two ways to get to the Dry Tortugas in Fort Jefferson: a ferry boat, which takes a little over 2 hours, or a seaplane, which takes about 40 minutes. We opted for the seaplane. You take off from Key West International Airport and head 70 miles west towards the islands, the true end of the Florida Keys. The flight provides a vantage point of Key West locations you may have previously only seen from ground level. Everyone on the flight has a window seat and a headset, as the plane only has 5 seats per side. Shortly after leaving Key West, we fly over an area called the Flats. This area is part of the National Marine Sanctuary and extends almost 20 miles. The water is very shallow at only about 3 to 5 feet deep. Enjoying this video, please like and subscribe to see future videos. Looking out the windows, we see numerous uninhabited mangrove islands. One island, Ballast Key, is the only privately owned island in the sanctuary and has a private house. In the late 70s and early 80s, Tennessee Williams painted here while visiting the owners. In the early 70s, Jimmy Buffett and other Key West regulars would come out here to relax and party. Shortly after passing the flats, we fly over the Marquesas Keys. These coral islands form a coral atoll. Just beyond the Marquesas lies the quicksands. This vast underwater desert is made up of huge sand dunes continually moved by the tidal currents, making for notoriously rough conditions. It's here the treasure hunter Mel Fisher found the Spanish galleons Atocha and Margarita. Over $500 million worth of gold and silver were spread across an 8-mile area. We see 2 other shipwrecks in this area. The first is the World War II destroyer escort, the Patricia. She was sunk by the Navy for bombing practice. All that's left of her now is the shape of a ship 30 feet below the surface. Next is the Artemis, one of Mel Fisher's dive boats. It sunk because of the deterioration of the hull. Luckily, there was no loss of life. As you look out the windows, make sure you keep an eye out for marine life such as turtles, manta rays, dolphins, and sharks. Walking across the bridge, we enter Fort Jefferson through the Sally Port, which is a secured entryway. There are doors on both sides of it which can be used to trap an enemy inside. With the enemy trapped, defenders can fire through slatted openings in the walls from protective cover. Above the Sally Port, you can see 3 small rectangular windows. These are the windows to Dr. Samuel Mudd's cell. We'll visit his cell later. The interior of the fort is 16 acres. Of the United States forts, only Fort Monroe in Virginia and Fort Adams in Rhode Island are larger. The fort is comprised of 16 million bricks and is the largest masonry structure in America. The fort collected and stored rainwater in its cisterns. This was its only source of fresh water. The fort cisterns could hold 1.5 million gallons. These supports would have held the cannons protecting the entrance to the fort. The hot shot furnace was used to heat cannonballs to increase their effectiveness because they were fired at wooden ships. The process involved several soldiers. This was the fort's bakery. It was responsible for baking bread 3 times a day for 400 people. In 2017's Hurricane Irma damaged a 50-foot section of the moat wall. The only other structure out here is Loggerhead Lighthouse on Loggerhead Key. fort's most famous, or maybe infamous prisoner was Dr. Mudd. He arrived here in July 1865 with 3 other conspirators in the assassination of President Lincoln. During his time here, he swept bastions, worked in the carpentry shop, and helped during the yellow fever epidemic. President Johnson pardoned him in 1869. Dr. Mudd, like his fellow prisoners, carved trenches in his cell floor to drain rainwater that dripped in. It wasn't unusual to collect 10 to 12 large buckets of water a day. This is a Traverse magazine. It protected ammunition and gun crews from incoming fire as they passed between the casemates. The Visitor Center has a book with reproductions of the engineering plans and writings of a soldier's daily life at the fort. Something to be aware of if you visit is the accessibility of this historic fort. There are no guardrails and the walking surfaces are sometimes uneven and slippery. While it is no longer a military outpost, the dry Tortugas and Fort Jefferson are a sought-after destination for world-class snorkeling. We were fortunate to have the island pretty much to ourselves as the ferry was down for routine maintenance. Normally, there would be a few hundred more people here. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe.